Our topic, it's all about institutional correction. According to the research, the institutional correction, it is that involves the confinement and rehabilitation of adults and juveniles convicted of offenses against the law and the confinement of persons suspected of a crime awaiting trial and adjudication. Siyempre, kapag sinabi natin na institutional correction, ito yung bilangguan kung saan ang mga tao ay nakakagawa ng krimen na labag sa batas. Units of objectives. After completion of the units study, the study were able to first gain an overview of the history and personalities behind correction. Gain some knowledge about the concept of punishment and its contemporary forms. Understand the concept of the golden era of penology. Understand the meaning and concept of institutional-based correction. Gain some knowledge and overview on the Philippines prison system. Gain some knowledge on the composition of the BJMP and Bucor.
So, good morning everyone. We are about to discuss about historical perspective of correction. So, these are the timeline of historical perspective corrections. So, in 13th century, securing sanctuary, a criminal could avoid punishment by claiming refugee in church for a period of 40 days. So, dito sa nakikita nyo sa picture, kung si Jesus, ang example nito ay kung si Jesus ay naglakad ng 40 days nang walang pagkain o inom ng tuloy-tuloy, kailangan mo din itong gawin upang matanggap ka sa simbahan at mapatawad ka. So, noong 13th century yun. So, next, in 1576, Institution for the Confinement of the Offender. England ordered that each country should construct an institution for the confinement of offender, which is popularly known as the English House of Correction, of Bridewell style of corrections and workhouses. So nakikita nyo, yan yung example ng picture ng tinatawag nila na English House of Correction of Bridewell. Diyan kinukulong yung mga taong nagkakasala tulad ng pangbubugbog sa asawa, pag yung mga kalapating mababang lipad na tinawag nilang prostitute, at yung mga naglalasing. Diyan kinukulong yun. At doon naman sa workhouses, doon sila tinuturuan magbago, binibigyan sila ng mga trabaho upang sa ganun ay ma-rehabilitate sila na mahubog yung kanilang pagkatao na magbago. So yun ang tinatawag na ng workhouses, na tinawag na kalaunan ay model of discipline. 16th century, transportation of criminals. Transportation of criminal in England was authorized at the end of this century. Russia and other European countries followed this system. This practice was abandoned in 1835. So, nung 16th century, all criminals will vanish. So, yung mga nagkakasala nung 16th century ay pinapatapon sa ibang lugar. At dahil na rin ito sa karamihang bilang ng kulungan o sa tinatawag na jails or goals. So, sa next topic, i-discuss ko yan. So, nung hanggang 1835, itinigil na nila ito dahil sa makabagong pagpapatupad ng batas. So, 17th century, death penalty became prevalent as a form of punishment. So, pinatupad na nila dito ang pagpataw ng parusang kamatayan. So, in 18th century, known as the Age of Enlightenment, additionally jails were constructed due to the decreasing opportunities for the transportation of criminals to other countries and the elimination of the needs of galley slaves. So, noong 18th century, yun na nga, death penalty, ay pinatupad nila tulad ng, ang example nito ay ang bitay sa stone to death and firing squad, at marami pang ibang types ng death penalty. tulad niyan, ng nasa picture na example, ang pagpugot ng ulo is the type of also death penalty. Goals or jails. So, the description given to the pre-trial detention facilities operated by English sheriff in the England during the 18th century. So, sa nakikita nyo sa picture, yan yung type ng kulungan nila. Yan yung uri ng kulungan nila o disenyo ng pagkakagawa ng kanilang pasilidad. Goals or jails. Next is galleys. Long, low, narrow, single-decked ships propelled by sails usually rowed by criminals, a type of ship used for transportation of criminals in the 16th century. So, noong 16th century, yung tinatawag nila na long, low, narrow, single-decked ships. Yan, sa nakikita nyo sa picture, yan yung long, low, narrow, single-decked ships. Yan yung ginagamit nila na transportation tulad na sa pagpapatapo nila sa ibang lugar ng mga nagkasala. Yan yung ginagamit nila. Next. Hawks or floating hell. These are former warship used house as prisoner in the 18th and 19th century. The Hawks were originally intended as a temporary solution to a problem, but they were not completely abandoned until 1858, 8 years later. So, yun na nga, dahil nga sa problema ng daming bilang sa loob ng goals or jails, nakaisip sila na gumawa ng mga prisoners sa karagatan. At ang ginamit nila yung isang abandonadong warship. So, yan ang example, o yan yung image ng warship na ginawa nila. Na tinawag nilang floating hell. So, next. Ordeal is the church substitute for a trial until the 13th century wherein a guilt or innocence was determined by the ability of the accused of being unhurt through dangerous and painful tests. So, yun nga sa ordeal. Based on my research, under influence of divine intervention, that kung ikaw ay nasa influence ng divine intervention, that why will you be saved? If you are accused or suspected, but if not, you will go under ordeal test. It will be determined if you are criminal. There are many types of ordeal tests. Example na yung nasa picture, yung pagtatapon ng nakatali sa dagat. Pag nalagpasan niya ito, maaari siyang mapatawad o maging innocent sa kanyang kaso. So next is early codes. So balik tayo sa ordeal. Dagdag info lang. Meron tayong tinatawag na dito na example natin na si Carolus Magnus. He gave bishops the power to act as a real judge, which enabled bishop tribunal to rule on secular matters. So, siya yung nagbibigay ng power sa bishops para maging judge or tagahatol dyan sa ordeal test. Next, early codes. Babylonian and Sumerian codes. Code of Hammurabi. Babylonian credited as the oldest code prescribing savage punishment around 1759 BC. Fact Sumerian codes were nearly 100 years old. The main concept of Hammurabi's code is lex talionis, which means an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. So yun na nga, mata sa mata, ngipin sa ngipin. So pag nakagawa ka dito ng paglabag, o halimbawa pumatay ka, kung yun ang ginawa mo, yun din ang magiging kaparusahan mo. O mas maaaring doble pa dun. Yun yung sa Babylonian and Sumerian codes. So next kay King Urnammus Code. Decrease the imposition of restitution and fines of execution, mutilation, and other savage penalties. Analysis of King Urnammus also carries a concept of restorative justice that re-established the lost relationship between involved parties in crime that existed before the commission of crimes. So, dyan sa King Urnammus, ang example ko dyan is ito ang paliwanag dyan. If a man commits a murder, that man must be killed. If a man commits robbery, he will be killed. And if a man commits kidnapping, he is to be imprisoned and pay 15 shekels of silver. So yun na nga, parang dun din sa Babylonian and Sumerian codes, kung nakapatay ka, papatayin ka din. So kung nagnakaw ka, papatayin ka din. So yan yung example. So next, Roman and Greek codes. Justinian Code Emperor Justinian of Rome wrote his Code of Law. This code was a revision of the 12 tables of Roman. However, the law did not survive due to the fall of the Roman Empire, but left foundation of Western legal codes. So the 12 tables represented at the earliest codification of Roman law incorporated into the Justinian Code. Greek Code of Draco is a harsh code that provides the same punishment for both citizen and the slave as it incorporates primitive concepts. The Greeks were the first to allow any citizen to prosecute and offender in the name of if the injured person. So most commonly that punishment is death. So death penalty pa rin ang pinapunishment ng Greek Code of Draco. So next is the Virginian Code. This code introduced the concept of restitution. This code specified punishment according to the social class offenders, dividing them into nobles, middle class, and lower class, and specifying the value of life in each person according to the social status. So, dumidepende siya sa estado ng buhay. Kung mayaman ka, mas magaan parusa na ipapataw sa iyo. Pero kung mas mahirap ka, mas mabigat na parusa. Example, kung nagnakaw ka, pwede kang magmulta. At doon sa mahirap, kung nagnakaw ka, putol agad ng kamay. So next. So in 509 BC, a law was passed prohibiting flogging or execution unless affirmed by the Curiate Assembly. So dito nga sa 509 BC na pagkasunduan na ipasa ang pagpataw ng flogging or execution unless kung napagbutuhan ng nakararami na ikaw ay mapatawad o mapawalang sala. So dito ay majority wins. So next, the Curiate Assembly was the principal legislative assembly during the era of Roman Kingdom. While its primary purpose was to elect new kings, it also possessed rudimentary legislative powers. So, dyan nga sa Curiate Assembly, gaya ng nasabi ko, usually nagagamit ito sa pag-elect ng bagong pinuno. Pag-uusap at kung sinong mas nakakaraming boto, so isa yung panalo o yun yung mapagkakasunduan nila. So, yun lang. Maraming salamat and thank you.
The Golden Era of Penology. Penology is a branch of criminology which deal with the management and administration of offender. The word penology was coined by Francis Lever. It simply means the treatment of criminal. So sinasabi po dito ito ay ang penology daw po ito ay ang pag-aaral ng kaparusahan sa krimen at pamamahala sa bilangguan. The Golden Age of Penology. The period from 1870 to 1880 was considered the Golden Age of Penology. The following significant event. First, the National Prison Association in 1870 was organized in Cincinnati. So, noong 1870, itinatag ang National Prison Association. According to the research, ito daw po ang pinakanlumang asosasyon na particular na binuo para sa mga practitioners na profession ng correctional. Next, the first International Prison Congress was held in 1872 at the London, which established the International Penal and Penitentiary Commission, and in 1875 its headquarters was established at Hague, the Netherlands. Next is the Elmira Reformatory was established in New York in 1876. According to the research, ito daw po ang institutional na lugar ng kapanganakang kilusang reformatory, kung saan ang mga bata at ang unang nagkasala ay maaaring gumawa ng kanilang paraan sa loob at palabas ng kulungan sa pamamagitan ng aplikasyon at mahusay na pagsasaayos ng institution. The first separate institution from women and established in India and Massachusetts. Ito ay pasilidad ng pagwawasto ng babaeng nasa ustong gulang at itinatag siya noong 1873. Next, correction is that branch administrative of criminal justice charged with the responsibility for the custody, supervision, rehabilitation of the convicted offender. Correction is the fourth pillar of criminal justice system, considered as the weakest pillar of the criminal justice system. The two forms of correction: institutionalized correction, the rehabilitation of offender in jail or prison. Community-based or institutionalized correction refers to correction activities that may take place within the community. So, ito yung mga taong napatunayan na nagkasala sila sa isang krimen sa labas ng kulungan o sa bilangguan. Rehabilitation. Rehabilitation is the punishment philosophy which asserts that through proper correctional intervention, a criminal can be reformed into the law-abiding citizen. So sa rehabilitation po is ito ay ang mahalagang proseso ng pagtulong sa mga bilanggo upang magbago. At pinapahintulutan din sila ni hiwalay sa ang kanilang mga sarili sa mga salit na kapaligiran na naging dahilan upang gumawa sila ng krimen sa lugar nila. So, hindi lahat ng kriminal ay wala ng pagbabago. Naniniwala ako ang isang kriminal ay maaring magbago upang maging isang mamamayang masunurin sa batas. Purposes of punishment: to segregate offender from society, and to rehabilitate him so that upon his return to the society, he shall be responsible and law-abiding citizen. To legal grounds for detaining a person: first, commission of a crime. Second, violent insanity or any other alignment that needs compulsory confinement in a hospital. The rules on the admission, custody, and treatments of inmates seek to promote discipline and to secure the reformation and safe custody of inmates. Siyempre, para sa lahat ng inmates is dapat lagi nilang tinataguyod ang disiplina sa sarili. Kasi para din naman sa kaligtasan ng lahat ng mga bilanggo. Shall be applied impartially without discrimination on grounds on race, color, sex, language, religion, or the other opinion, national and social origin, property, birth, or other status. Dapat lahat tayo ay pantay-pantay sa lahat na kung ano ang ating pagkatao. Last is, shall be enforced with firmness but tempered with understanding. Siyempre, dapat lagi natin isipin ang kabutihan sa ating kapwa at malawak na pag-uunawa. Pre-release treatment. It is program specifically designed and given to a prisoner during a limited period prior to his release in order to give him an opportunity to adjust himself from the regimented groove life in prison to the normal independent life of a free individual. So, syempre, ito yung programa na particular na ibinibigay sa isang bilanggo upang magbago ang kanilang pamumuhay sa labas man o sa loob ng kulungan. At saka upang bigyan sila ng pagkakataon na baguhin ang kanilang sarili ng nagawa nilang krimen dati.